Hi, welcome to Mostra Monday. I'm Jillian Malone, one of the co-founders of Mostra Coffee. And today I'm joined by my business partner and one of my dear friends, Mike Arquines. And we're going to be talking today about all things craft beer and Mostra. Before we get started, we have our featured coffee of the day. This is our Ghost Bear Espresso Blend, which is actually one of our top selling coffees. On your next order, you can get a discount if you use the code MIKE23. That's MIKE 23 at mostracoffee.com. How are you, Mike?
Fantastic.
Thank you for being here on Mostra Monday with me. As you can see, we have a lot of extra decor in our studio today.
Quite an array.
Mike brought some stuff from the past, and I know a lot of people are always wondering why Mostra, one, has beer bottles in our stores, why we have a beer license in some of our locations, and why we have, our anniversary party with all these brewers coming in from all over the country. So it's definitely something that people have asked about. I know every year when we post Mostra Land, like our regular coffee customers are in the space like, why is Mostra promoting this beer festival? Like, I'm here to get a latte or a chagachino or whatever, but, and I almost feel like there's just like a very specific group of people that know what we do.
Right. And there's people that know.
Right.
But then there's also a lot of people that really have no idea.
No, so that is what we're here to do today. We are here to talk about the origin behind how Mostra got so deeply involved in the craft beer community. And there's really no one better to talk about that than my partner, Mike, here. So I don't know. How are you? Well, what are you drinking, first of all? Like, I'm here drinking coffee, and you've got
I have quite a spread, or we have quite a spread here. Never too early. Since this is a pretty beer-heavy, beer-centric episode, we're going to switch it up and have a little brown water.
Okay.
So,
well, when we first started Mostra and Mike started bringing bottles of beer to the garage. So there's a story that we supposedly almost burnt down the garage when we were learning how to roast at Bev and Sam's in Forest Ranch. And it was because we were drinking all these really strong beers from the brewery. Like, what would you say the ABV was on some of those beers?
Oh, easily. I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday. It was Black Tuesday, me and Sam, 17, 18% stout. It's summer.
Yeah.
We are just loving life in the garage.
Feeling good.
Yeah, it's North County. We're like, let's go. We're roasting some amazing coffee that we think is amazing. Yeah. Right? And things catch on fire, and I guess that's normal, right?
Not really, but can you just break down what ABV stands for?
Alcohol by volume. Oh, I had to remember that.
I never actually known that.
Yeah. I was like looking at the bottle, but there's nothing on the bottle.
I think his drinks kicked in a little bit.
No. I kind of had to because when we're in the process of trying to vet out a coffee, ABV does come into place.
Yeah.
Alcohol by volume.
So I never drank beer. What was the first beer you've ever had? Period. Period.
So there's a picture of me holding a beer can as a kid. My dad would partake a lot in these wonderful beverages in the past. And it was a can of Budweiser. I tasted it, and I was like, yuck. It's gross.
Yuck. Yeah.
So. No,
my first beer was a Bud Light.
Oh.
So gross.
It's gross.
So I've never been a beer person, ever. And then when you started bringing beers to the garage, and you're like, you got to try this craft beer thing. And I'm like, what is this craft beer thing? But you had us try these beers from the brewery, and I remember being so blown away by the flavor.
It was so unique, right? It was a time when you have your normal beers, right? Your lagers, your pilsners, your IPAs, and then you have your stouts, right? And your stouts were generally just run of the mill, core duty at a brewery, just good stout, good solid stout, chocolatey, full flavored, medium bodied mouthfeel. But the brewery was doing crazy things. They were adjuncting, meaning they were adding additional real ingredients into their stouts to really just give it that pop and really set themselves apart from the pack. So that's what we were drinking in the heat and almost burned the house down.
Well, I loved it at that time because we started doing so many collaborations, which we're going to get into here in a minute. But we did so many collaborations, and Mike just kept bringing all these stouts to the house, and I was trying them. I was going to events, trying more stouts and more stouts.
You're making me sound like the alcoholic enabler. No. Like, try this.
No, it was good. It made sense because we were working with these breweries. So, sure. I had to understand it.
Yeah.
But the point is that one fateful day after we had probably been doing collaborations for maybe about a year up to that point, I had one too many stouts at the brewery. We actually had a meeting at 10:30 in the morning at the brewery, and I tried all the variations of Mocha Wednesday.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
I'm about to
like we did different strengths of coffee in the base beer for Mocha Wednesday.
Exactly.
It was before lunch.
It was before lunch.
And Lynn went in
hard.
By the way, she just dove right in and didn't even wait for us. That was actually it was an amazing moment where we are at one of the best breweries in the nation, trying all these beers.
Yeah.
And
it was a dream to be in their beer. When we first started, it was I want to be in a brewery beer. And there we were trying beers with our coffee, and it was like that full circle moment. So I was celebrating. And then I never had a stout again.
So proud.
Mike wanted to have a stout here today, and I was like, I don't think I can do it. I think not for Mostra Monday. I can't do it for anybody.
I think it's at some point going to happen. It has to happen.
And every anniversary party and all the stouts are there. Everyone's trying to cheers me and give me a sample, and I'm like, yeah, let's do that. And I'm like, I pretend to drink it, but I can't even inhale because it reminds me of that day.
You're just sharing.
Anyways,
you just expose your cards. So all those times that I would hand you these beers.
Yeah, I was faking it.
Wow.
I can't. It's okay.
No,
but I'm so grateful for everyone who does stouts with us, though, because it was fun while it lasted for me.
That's okay. I'll drink enough for all of us.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, responsibly.
Anyway, so let's get into the story of how all of this. Yeah. There's so much more than this. How many collaborations do you think we've done up to this point?
Well over 1,000.
Okay.
I would say so.
And then how many breweries do you think that we've collaborated with nationally and internationally?
Nationally, I would say about 90 some odd breweries, meaderies, distilleries across the nation. Not counting international. Greece, Mexico, Thailand, Copenhagen, and so on and so forth, and upcoming in the Philippines. So we're lucky. We're very blessed.
So I know like I said in the beginning, a lot of people have been asking how all of this happened. And we are a specialty coffee roasting company, but we stumbled upon this industry because of your involvement with the industry. And then I think it was just divine intervention or something, because everything just kind of happened to go and, fall into place and lead us to another thing that led us to another thing. So I remember our first collaboration being with Karl Strauss.
Yeah.
And what was Derek doing there at the time? Was he even brewing yet?
Yeah, so Derek, who is I would consider one of my best friends, is uber talented brewer. At that time, he would do the night brew shift, but then he transitioned into sales, if I can remember correctly. And there was an opportunity to work with Karl Strauss, which if those that don't know, Karl Strauss is considered probably one of the godfathers of beer here in San Diego, amongst probably 4 or 5 other breweries, right? So it was an honor to even have an opportunity to work with them at the time. So that's kind of how it happened. So, but if we really want to go even before that, right? We're talking 2012, right? 2011, craft beers on the up and up. Breweries are being a little more experimental, right? And so on and so forth. For myself, I was trying to educate myself in craft beer. I've been in whiskey and beer for a lot longer, or I'm sorry, just whiskey, brown water for a lot longer, but beer was something new to me, right? So that
was new to you in 2011. So that was when that whole thing started for you.
Beer, really hunting beers. was that you go to beer bars, you go to Tornado, you go to O'Brien's, and you try the new beers, right? That's how you educate yourself. I guess that sounds really bad, right? You just have to keep drinking and drinking every day, right?
Like, hey, I get it. Yeah.
That's really the only real way to understand, whatever
that industry and food, what it has to offer.
Yeah, whiskey, that makes sense. Just got to dive in if you really, really want to get to know it, right? Down to its soul. I felt like there needed to be a better product for, some of the best breweries out there, right? And what I mean by that is that being in San Diego, we have the most amazing opportunity to try some of the most world-class beers.
Oh, yeah.
Till this day, right? And at that time, the only real coffee stout that I really enjoyed or that I was drinking, my gateway drug to coffee stouts was AleSmith Speedway Stout, right? That was my welcome to craft beer moment.
You're kidding.
Yeah, no.
Speedway Stout?
Speedway Stout. I mean, it's synonymous with San Diego.
How do I not know that? That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah, and it was literally one of those, like, when you're experiencing
the light bulb moment.
Yeah, and I almost dropped my glass because I was like, this is what a stout can taste like. So I did my research and I went to different breweries and I was like, can I get a coffee stout? Can I get a coffee stout? I fell in love with the style because it's like your uppers and your downers all in one cup, right? It's convenience. And it tasted amazing. That. And then, I got to know brewers and rub elbows with brewers, just ones that would hang out at the local watering hole, for example.
So how did that even happen? Were you just networking? Were you just hanging out and you just happened to run into them? It was
super organic. It wasn't intentional because, at that time, if we want to go from 2012 to 2013, Mostra started, we had, just a garage with a small roaster, right? So I would still introduce these beers to you guys and I would still partake and go to Tornado, which, rest in peace, one of the best beer bars in the world at the time. So, and I still consider so. And I would literally go there, have a pint, have some wings, and then just the people that walk in are, they're, just normal, office workers or in the restaurant industry and brewers.
Oh, that's right. There were a lot of industry people going to Tornado.
Lots of industry.
I remember that now.
It was almost like an airport where you see different walks of life coming through, right? But then you get to sit down with them, have a beer, and you get to know them, right? And trying to understand, like, so how do you, being super young in the coffee, in roasting coffee, like, how do you guys do your coffee?
Oh, so you just started inquiring with all of them, like,
curious.
Where are you getting your coffee from?
I'm a very curious person, so I'm gonna always ask these questions just to try to understand it better, right? And at this time there was I had no I didn't even think about turning this into anything, right? It wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this and have our coffee in people's beers. It was honestly never a part of the business strategy or plan. It really wasn't.
It really truly came out of nowhere and then took on a life of its own.
Yeah, right. And we, so I would ask these questions. I would talk to all these brewers, all these talented brewers, right? That I was like, these guys are rock stars, right? You're rubbing elbows with people from like Alpine and Stone and Coronado Brewing Company and Ballast Point, and they all go to Tornado. Right? And sometimes they're drinking their own beer, right? It's crazy. So, and I would ask some of these people, like, hey, like, how do you guys do your coffee stout? And no brewer in particular, but, I ran into one or two and they were like, well, we go to the grocery store and buy coffee off the shelf. And I was like, for real? And they're like, yeah. We go and we check, and if it says, like, if we have a stout, and we're like, oh, macadamia, vanilla, coffee. And I'm like, I'm still new to the coffee industry, but I have a pretty solid understanding on, like, you're bastardizing your final product. Because I know, as I'm talking to the brewers, they're like, there's water quality, water chemistry, hop selection, recipe building, so on and so forth. So much time and effort you guys are putting into these beers. And then you bastardize it with shitty coffee, right? And it's just doesn't make any sense.
So how did the Rec Alley Stout come into play for us with Karl Strauss?
So Karl Strauss was, so when that came about, that was in my head after hearing all that, right? All those conversations I had with these amazing brewers was the moment where I was like, okay, maybe I can roast coffee to complement or contrast this beer and almost dial it in like a, fine Italian soup to your beer. I'm merely a consultant, right? And I'm the professional in my respective field. I'm here to help you elevate your project. You are the star. I always use the analogy like they're the bride, we're the groom. The bride gets the attention. We show up, take pictures, and hold the purse. That's really,
I love that.
That's really what it. That's
okay. And fun fact for those who don't know, Mike is a fine dining chef, an incredible chef. Makes the best French toast I've ever had, and
best French
prime rib and mashed potatoes. I can go on and on, but I think so if you don't know that is what he does, and so I think the entire approach to beer and coffee and flavor is also coming from your culinary.
It comes from that. So I think that's what I had the leg up on was at the end of the day, it's not necessarily, even though it's 2013 and we're very young in roasting and in the coffee industry, I can rely on my palate.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, does the coffee taste good in the end? Right? So, and that's what happened. Derek gave us an opportunity to provide coffee for such a legendary beer, right? Rec Alley from Karl Strauss. And we did a Fortissimo. We called it Fortissimo.
Oh my gosh.
Because
yes.
we are a company full of performers, right? And Fortissimo has something to do with singing, performing.
I think it was a combination of Bev, where are you? Where's Bev? Somebody's
I know. I'm like
Bev. She came up with like so many of these names, but
yeah.
Wasn't it because it was like a blend of four?
It's a blend of four.
Coffees?
It's like a four-part harmony, maybe.
I don't know.
We're
terrible.
Don't
You're a chef. I'm an
I don't
actor.
know. I don't sing all the time, but so I don't understand. So it was Brazil, Sumatra, Ethiopia,
Guatemala,
and then Guatemala. So that's what that was. And me and Derek went through the process of tasting and cupping and trying the coffees that we feel that would lend itself to the.
For those who don't know what a cupping is a formal way of tasting coffee.
Sensory evaluation.
Yeah.
Right. So this was the early stages of how I would approach future collaborations, which I didn't know at the time. For me, I'm just starstruck. I'm like, we're working with Karl Strauss.
Dude, I was so starstruck.
Yeah.
And it was every Karl Strauss was carrying this Rec Alley with our Fortissimo coffee. And
they tapped, it was a cask.
It's a cask.
A cask. Yeah. And they tapped the cask at every single Karl Strauss up and down the coast.
I know.
At the same time. It was 5 p.m. Or 6 p.m. Or 5 p.m.
That was a really, really big deal for us. And I can remember in that moment feeling like I don't know how or when we're ever going to get into another beer.
Yeah.
You know?
Same. And we lived in the moment. We kept the sign and everything, and
we still have it.
We still have it, and
the menu sign.
We still have the menu sign, and people took a liking to it, and they felt that it actually elevated it, right? It gave it new depth to the beer. And Derek was like, "Yeah, man, people are liking it a lot." And I was like, "Dude, that's crazy. I'm mind blown right now." You know, and
it's funny, the Karl Strauss that we all gathered at is in Forest Ranch, where our second location actually opened so many years later. Like I'm going to say 7 years later, we end up opening a Mostra in the same center. So it's kind of poetic, but
so cool.
So then from there, what? Then there have been so many, honestly, I cannot keep track. So I'm like, let's just go down the path.
Yeah. So we had Karl Strauss, right? And it was a hit. And in my head, I'm like, how do I, turn this into a thing, right? Because we want to be able to, again, provide a service. Ultimately, we're just providing a service to these breweries. The next opportunity, which I consider one of a big turning point, not only from a a learning experience, but just like from our brand, like whoa, like people are like going to seek us out due to this brand that's attached to a beer now, right? It was AleSmith Speedway Stout, Jamaica Blue Mountain. I believe that was 2014. Myself and the former brewmaster, Bill Batten, at the time, where we were having some whiskey at a local bar, and I started just asking him, like, man, Speedway Stout, it's legendary. And that was, telling him the whole story, the whole background, telling him about Carl Strauss and stuff like that. And then I was like, man, like it would be really cool to do like maybe like a one-off to what you guys are doing, because they were using another local company. And I was like, I don't know. Like I kind of just threw it out there. And he was like, for me, I was like, probably not. He's probably not going to
give us a chance.
Exactly. And maybe the whiskey helped, right? But thank you, Bill, for that. And we sourced some really rare Jamaica Blue Mountain coffee from the Mavis Bank Estate, which
I remember it being the last 2 barrels
in the U.S.
That they had and they needed, and we were like, let's just buy it all.
Yeah, we bought it all, and they wanted it in cold brew form. So at the time, it was just myself roasting, but this thing, we had a 1-pound roaster, so we all took turns, burning the midnight candle. Right.
Oh my gosh.
And taking turns roasting. So
we all roasted, okay?
Yeah.
For the record.
At one point,
every single one of us, all owners, were roasting.
Yep.
Like he said, on a 1-pound roaster, and it was our San Franciscan Franny.
Yep.
And we were in our warehouse, and we all had to learn how to roast.
We all had to, yeah.
And like, since there were only 200 pounds of this Jamaica Blue Mountain, and it was so expensive, we could not mess it up. And just so everybody also knows, when you put 1 pound of coffee in a roaster, you don't actually yield a pound of roasted coffee. You lose the moisture.
You lose the moisture. Yep. It
so
comes
you
out.
actually have to roast 2 times to even get 1 full, and it's
or
just,
you lose like 20%, and
it was a whole thing.
It took quite some time, but we were up to the challenge because we were like, dude, this is going to be, we had a good feeling about it. And, we're always grateful for AleSmith, to Bill, for giving us that opportunity. And it actually turned into like this online release that sold out in like 4 minutes. And we had a big event surrounding it. And it was just like this whole, like, we were, again, starstruck.
So just backstory on that, I actually interviewed, I don't know if you remember this, but I requested to do an interview with Peter Zion. It's like on YouTube somewhere. But Peter Zion is the owner of AleSmith. Yeah. And I sat with him because I wanted to understand the process. I wanted to get a backstory on it, and I wanted to share that story with our followers and everything. And then I asked if we could participate in the release event for the Speedway Stout, the Jamaica Blue Mountain Speedway Stout. And we did that, and I feel like that was our first beer event. And we cold brewed the Jamaica Blue Mountain, put them in bottles, sold those. And I remember before the event, there was like the longest line of people waiting for the coffee that was in the beer. Like people were trying to buy.
Right, and we were brewing on site.
They were brewing on site.
We kind of brought it all full circle. It wasn't just a regular beer release that beer nerds will wait in line or try to just, leave, have a few beers and or arrive, get a few beers and leave. They literally stayed and wanted to try the coffee that was in the beer. So it was like this.
By the way, that was still hands down my favorite coffee we've ever roasted. Period. Like it was caramel, toffee, chocolate. I don't know. It was the best cup of coffee.
It was like good cup quality. It was amazing. So
insane.
But again, like that was like that big, like, okay, another moment. There was Carl Strauss, there was AleSmith, JBM, and then we're like, what's next? And it was scoring high, like there's like these review rating apps and platforms online that they're scoring at like a 97, 98, which makes it world class.
And wasn't AleSmith at that time too the 6th best brewery in the world?
Yeah, it was. They won some amazing award at the time. So it was super serendipitous, right? Yeah. They were celebrating that accomplishment, and then here we are, like mind blown and very grateful and starstruck. We're like, oh my God, what are we doing here?
Literally, what are we doing here?
Do people like it? We still ask ourselves that. Do people like it?
Yeah.
Because we're still like, mind blown by that opportunity. So. Yeah.
So from AleSmith, I would say the next big highlight of our beer journey, our craft beer journey, was the stone brewing thing.
Yep.
I don't actually know the full story behind how, like, Chris Banker. So, I'm, like, before I just even get into it, can you just give everybody the breakdown of how that even happened?
Yeah, for sure. So every year Stone puts on a competition for home brewers, and the winner gets to brew their beer that won on a full production scale, which every home brewer is, not every, but a lot of the home brewers are looking to move to professional. So that was like perfect, like the perfect award for these people. So Mr. Chris Banker, shout out to Chris Banker, super talented home brewer, and at that time wanted to enter the competition, and he wanted to do a Mexican mocha milk stout, right? So, but the mocha part.
So he's the one that got to decide the style.
Yeah, because that's what he was like, I'm going to, because you could submit whatever you want.
See, that's what I was wondering. I was like, was that the requirement to do a stout, or he
No, you can submit
that?
any style.
Wow.
And again, like adjunctive beers, meaning beers that have additional ingredients in them at the time, were still new at the time, right? So he was like, he looked to us, and the reason why I know Chris Banker is, again, from Tornado, from beer shares, right? There's bottle shares. Bottle shares are when you meet up in a space, a restaurant, a bar, whatnot. You bring bottles to share that you feel you want other people to try.
I miss doing those. That was a good time.
I miss it so much.
It was so amazing.
It's like you get to try these different beers all in one room.
And I just think the sense of community when people are doing a bottle share is so awesome.
It's great. It's great. You just walk around with a bottle. You want some? Try some.
Yeah,
Here you
so
go.
cool.
Here you go. And that's how I met Chris. And then Chris hit me up one time because, again, we were still super new.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, I was wondering if you have a coffee that we can use. And I was like, yeah, like, come by. I'm roasting. And, we can maybe try the base beer. And then the base beer is, it's the base of whatever the beer is going to be.
So you got to try the base?
Got to try the base of Choco.
Okay.
Yeah. And he came by and, we tried a few coffees, and then he left, and, I went back and forth with roasting different profiles of coffees, blends of coffees, or just solo single origin coffees. And I felt like there was this one that just sung to us and sung to myself, super rich, super deep, dark chocolate. And that's what he wanted. So I was like, here, try it. Hope you like it.
How many pounds of coffee did you give Chris for the competition?
Oh, not a lot. It was maybe a kilo, maybe 2.2 pounds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or something like that, something along those lines. It was very little because he didn't need a lot. It was just being submitted. And then he won.
He won.
He ended up winning.
Yes.
So I'm telling all my partners, I'm telling Lynn, Bev, and Sam, I'm like, so guess what?
Yeah.
Our coffee is going to be in Stone's, like, newest seasonal beer, which is called Chocovesa, and it uses our coffee.
That? It's back there.
And it's this one right
I don't know if you
here.
can see it, but
yeah, I don't know if. Can I grab it real quick?
Yeah. Chocovesa was nationally distributed, and it was so good. I remember trying it for the first time, going, "Whoa!"
Yeah, so this one's super special. This one's batch one. They're still in the bomber format. Chris Banker signed it, so it was really cool. And it's in collaboration with another brewery out of Mexico, or TJ in Sarmiento. So, yeah, this one's very special. Like you said, like, it got national distro. My brother in Chicago was able to purchase this at his local liquor store. And so I'm like, now we're able to reach other states.
Let me see.
Yeah.
And what's cool was this was supposed to be one time, and then what happened? It was supposed to be one release.
Yeah. So the winner gets to brew one time, but for some reason, not for some reason, it was amazing. So Stone was like, holy cow. Like, our sales are crazy right now. We're selling out. They're selling cases of this thing. Like, people are walking out with cases of this beer. And they're like, we need to do it again. So we did it again. And when I say do it again, it's not an easy feat. We're roasting, 10, 15,000 pounds of coffee. So by this time, we already upgraded to a 12 kilo roaster, which is about 25 pounds at a time.
Yeah.
So it makes the job a little easier, but not really.
But when we got this account, we only had one 1 pound grinder at the time. Every time we get a new thing, we're like, small business problems. We only have one 1 pound grinder. And at the time, my dad was working in production for us. He was doing all of our cold brewing. And so he was a part of the coffee grind team.
Yeah.
And then we ended up, I feel like we took the deposit for that and we like bought a bunch of grinders.
We bought, multiple grinders, which still till this day that the grinding took longer than the actual roasting.
Yeah.
And it was really long. But again, we were so energized. We were like, we're doing this thing with Stone, and Stone is like this national.
Can you just paint the picture for those who don't know how huge Stone Brewing is?
Stone, especially at that time, they were well known, right? They were very well known, rightfully so. They were very cutting edge and not scared to innovate.
Yeah.
Right. Kind of like the brewery as well. Right. And, they were everywhere, household name.
Definitely.
So that's what made them so amazing. And they were local.
So that happened. And we did that collaboration, I think 4 or 5 times.
5 times.
5 times.
Yeah. So 5 times. And then during COVID, they decided that they wanted to go a different direction. But can't really share.
But we're coming back, maybe.
Okay, fine. Yes, they're actually we're reunited.
We're reunited,
right? And we're gonna run it back.
We're gonna run it back.
Yeah,
what he said.
Yeah.
But then since then, so you've got Carl Strauss, you have AleSmith, we have Stone Brewing, nationally distributed.
Yeah.
And the collaboration just start to roll in. And I felt like, at least from my vantage point, it was really also after you went to the Copenhagen beer celebration that I felt like things started to get intense. And right? Am I right?
Yeah. Copenhagen beer celebration is put on by McKellar, who started off as a gypsy brewer, right, and super well known everywhere, right, as well. And he puts on this event every year called the Copenhagen Beer Celebration, which it's the best of the best. And we're not talking national; we're talking worldwide.
Yes,
like this thing.
McKellar is everywhere,
right? And you travel to Copenhagen for this. Normally, you go to Copenhagen to eat and see the sights and the history, but this is when the beer celebration is at the forefront, and then everything else is secondary.
Yeah,
that's that big. It was always a bucket list thing. So when we had the opportunity to go to Copenhagen, right, it was like, again, like what? Like we're just
a coffee company,
right?
Being invited to this massive international beer festival.
And mind you, like you said, like the collaboration inquiries started kind of rolling in.
Is it because you met so many people there? Is it just like the networking and the relationship building was just starting? Yeah,
and it's also that it's like networking and also friendship and relationships can only go so far. You have to have the proof. The proof has to be in the pudding.
Right.
Right. The product has to be good. So at the end of the day, I think people are realizing, like, oh, shoot, like whatever they're doing and wherever their coffee is, it actually helps complement or elevate the final product, which is what breweries ultimately want, right? And again, we're in the service industry. Like we are just trying to provide a service to them, right? So it's people caught wind and just it happened, and then we finally got the call and super grateful. Like we're like, what the hell? Like just to attend?
Oh, trust me.
Right?
I remember you being like, you guys, this is insane that we're going to this thing.
Insane. And again, like we stay grounded, right? We're not like, oh, we deserve to be there.
No.
Right? Because there's breweries out there that have our coffee in their beers that they're pouring at the celebration.
Right.
But it was this like, holy moly, like
who was there pouring our coffee? Was AleSmith pouring?
AleSmith. I remember Cycle Brewing. I believe, God, there was another one. McKellar, we made one with War Pigs, which is their collaboration barbecue joint out there. They collaborated with Three Floyds Brewing out of Munster, Indiana.
Was there a beer or a brewery that you were starstruck to meet when you were
Totally. So it's so funny because we posted that. You asked the question on video.
I did?
And then me and Derek, Carl Strauss.
This is again Derek Gallinosa. He's just been a part of it all.
Right. And then Derek went on to help open Abnormal Beer Company with
just my husband's brewery.
James. Mm-hmm. Yep. We work well together. We complement each other, right? Because we're not scared to try new things, right? And we just love being around the beer community. So we were like, well, what better way than to take Derek with us to go to Copenhagen? And those that you don't know, Abnormal is attached to Cork and Craft, which I was the opening executive chef there.
We just have all the intertwined relationships here.
Intertwined relationships. But we were like, man, what opportunity would that be? And he was stoked. He was like, man, So
the brewery
that we were most excited about. I remember we were standing in front of the roaster, and you asked us, what brewery are you excited? And at the same time, never fails, we did not rehearse it. It was Three Floyds Vanilla Dark Lord.
Oh, yeah.
So that was like the Mount Everest of stouts at the time.
Where are they based?
Munster, Indiana.
Oh, okay.
So they're in Indiana. So anyways, we took the trip, but it wasn't just attend. It was literally, no, you're gonna pour cold brew there. And I was like, you're gonna pour cold brew. I looked up the weather. I was like, it's like 40 degrees in Copenhagen. Do people drink
cold iced coffee?
Right.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. And then we're like, okay, so this is like one of our first events, like big events. And we're like, how are we going to execute this overseas?
How did you execute it overseas, Mike?
Yeah. How did we? We found a local source for food grade buckets. We packed our toddy. Toddy is a brand where it's pretty much
a cold brewing.
It's a cold brewing
method,
right? That has like a filter bag that you put your coffee in and you steep it in the bucket, right? And we did that, and we
packed up some coffee.
Checked it in. We pulled up. We flew out, pulled up to our apartment, which was 7 flights up, no elevator.
Oh.
Right. And then we carried the buckets, which was easy. It was empty, right? And then we sourced filtered water locally as well. So we had to carry that up, right, in those 5-gallon water jugs. And then we brewed coffee in these buckets. We turned on the AC just a little, even though it was already cold. Just to make sure.
Oh my gosh, it's 40 degrees already.
It needed to be a little lower. So then we were brewing. And then we were like,
this is so great.
We have to carry these buckets. Mind you, we didn't have lids.
You didn't have a lid?
We didn't have a lid, so we made a lid. So we took plastic wrap, foil, and all that stuff. So we just had to makeshift. It was super ghetto rig, right? But we were like, we're here. We're going to do it, right? It tasted amazing. We're like, let's go.
So you served this at CBC?
Right. So we served it, and people were kind of, there's people from all around the world. So honestly, like at that time, even though we were still kind of new in the collaboration game, they still knew who we were, which was crazy.
Do you think it was because of Speedway Stout?
It was.
And Stone and
most
all
definitely,
those things?
Most definitely. And again, like that's why we owe so much to them, is because like even internationally, we're like, they have an idea. If you're in the craft beer space, you've probably heard of us at the time. So great event, amazing. Me and Derek, I remember after when we checked into the hotel, after we left the apartment, we had to check into a hotel that they provide, right? Mm-hmm. We checked in, and then, we're expecting 2 twin beds or 2 doubles, right? It was literally one bed that was two twins that were pushed together.
Oh, yeah.
So now we're like, okay, so I guess we're going to do this. We're just going to sleep together now at this point.
Yes.
So we looked at each other.
Okay,
we're like,
Derek.
all right, big spoon, little spoon. But no, it was a great experience. Yeah, it was great, and we checked out all the beer bars there, and again, networking with all these world class breweries, and and some of them were like, "Who are you? Why are you here?" Right? And I was like, "Right."
We don't know. You tell me.
Yeah.
I know. That was that. I was very starstruck over that. I feel like I say that a lot. I'm going to be saying that a lot in this conversation, but it has never gotten old for me that we continue to be invited and included and integrated like into the craft beer scene and into, some of their best products. It's just.
We never take it for granted.
No.
Right? Because opportunity is opportunity, and they gave us opportunity to highlight our brand and give us opportunity and trust us to help guide their product as well. So, yeah.
What are some of the coolest collaborations that we've done? Just top 3? How about top 3?
That's like choosing your
favorite kid,
which I'm just kidding. I don't.
You only have 2 kids, so choosing 3.
True.
Everybody.
This is true.
No.
I'm very nostalgic. I'm always, I feel we all are, right? It's always like the first one. Like, what was the first, right? It would be like a Carl Strauss JBM moment, right? And then more recently, when I say recent, it's more like 2016 would be our collaboration with Jay Wakefield, Jason Pizarro, which one of my good friends as well, and then Derek as well. So Big Papa, right? I think is one of those beers.
You have that? Oh yeah, it's right there. Everybody.
We do. Yeah,
Papa.
We definitely do. Why?
Yeah.
Why do I choose that?
You always say that, by the way.
I do, because it was, and I like to think that when we create projects and beers with these amazing world-class brewers, it's always created with intention, right? But this one was super, super special because these guys were already my good friends, and it was forged out of first friendship, right? And again, like the thought of trying to create something that was going to be world-class, right? So that is why it makes it super special. And being able to work with Jay Wakefield, John, and Maria, again, like, whoa, it's Wakefield, you know? Like, at the time, it was like, his beers were like Miami Madness, Dragon Fruit, Passion Fruit. These were all legendary. He coined the term Florida Weiss, which is a Berliner Weiss, which is like a sour that has fruit in it, which is mind-blowing, right?
I love Miami Madness.
Yeah. Oh, man. Legendary. Till this day, legendary beer. So it came out of the spirit of friendship, collaboration, and wanting to create dope shit. That's really what it came down to. And for our love of hip-hop, too. We're big hip-hop heads. So Big Papa just made sense.
What's in the Big Papa beer?
Big Papa starts off as just it's an imperial stout that uses Philippine coffee, and it uses Philippine coconut as well, and vanilla. So the recipe was a combination of John Wakefield's, Maria, and Derek. And they came together, and again, world-class talent comes together, and Jason had the foresight and like the vision of this project and brought all of us together.
So Jason brought everyone together.
Jason brought everyone together to do this. And mind you, Jason comes from the tech world, the gaming world, but he was super into beer, right? He's very well known in beer, right? Because he was like super generous. Always had the whales, which is like the higher end, upper tier beers that breweries release. Maybe
why does everyone call them whales? Like, whales, why is it called a whale?
It's like Moby Dick. You find your whale, right? You find the whale and you slay it, right? Type of thing. So you hunt a beer and you wanna slay it, meaning, you drink it or go to Pound Town on it, right? So
So how many more collaborations do we have in the works for this year?
This year we have I think about 27 to 30 right now.
Okay.
We're into February, and
we already have
we have and again
30.
it's like they reach out and like, hey, like we have this, or maybe it's they're bringing back a beer that we've done in the past, or it's a new project. So it's they're all kind of lumped together, and I track all of them.
Yeah.
Right. And just to, because they're all, each collaboration is not like a notch on our belt or like a tackle on our college football helmet. It's literally relationships, moments in time and effort, money, and good times. Right. That's what each of these collaborations really, truly, in the end of the day, represent. Right. They're super special, each and every one of them. So.
And shout out and huge thank you to all of the people that have supported us and these breweries over the years, that stood in those lines, that came through, that flew out, that, just came in and bought that barrel-aged bag of blue, what is it, Tuesday? What was that one? I don't know. We've just collaborated with so many of them and then have like packaged bags of beans that are featuring the coffee that's actually in the beer, and have waited in line in the rain, like to get a coffee at 6 a.m. And we have not taken any of that for granted. It is still so humbling and mind-blowing to us that you all have supported us this way. And, we hope to continue to do great work. And I just want to tell you that you have done such an amazing job pulling this all together and maintaining such great quality work with our amazing brewery friends. It's
a team. Takes a village.
It's so good. So let's do a cheers to that.
Yes.
Do you need more in there, or are you good?
Oh. Yeah.
Okay.
I've been going through it the whole
Cheers.
time.
Thank you so much for joining us for Mostra Monday. I know you don't love being on camera or having these conversations, but it's been really cool to just recap back and do all of that with you.
I think thank you for having me, and I think it's extremely important to be able to tell that side of the story. We are a coffee company, and our mission and vision are clear, right? But people don't realize we also do beer too. So,
well, let's talk more beer on another episode.
For sure, let's do it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Mostra Monday. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Follow us at Mostra Monday on Spotify. Also, you can find us at Mostra Coffee across all platforms, and to shop coffee and for more information, visit mostracoffee.com. I'm Jalynn Malone, and we'll see you all next time.